Welcome to the Holistic Horse Conference. I'm your co-host, Joan Ramquet, and I'm with
Dr. Jeff Garognet. Hello, and I get to introduce not one, but two people in this interview. I have mother and son, Tristan Carbery and Shelley Headley, and they are co-founders and business partners in Headley Holistics. And what they're doing is providing holistic remedies and natural medicines for horses, hounds, and humans, all the H breeds. And they draw on more than a decade of experience in holistic and integrative health and wellness. Tristan combines his physiology background with Shelley's lifelong passion for horses. And with nearly 30 years of feed, tack, boarding, and training facility ownership on Vashon Island, which is in Washington State, just off the coast, obviously. And together, they bring decades of hands-on expertise, research, and practical application to create effective, all-natural solutions that promote balance and well-being for both animals and for people. So welcome, Tristan and Shelley.
You.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Okay, so let's start off with who are you? What's going on?
Yeah, thanks for having us. First of all, we're super excited to be here. Yeah, I mean your introduction was perfect. That's really, who we are and what we're about. And, I think we always love starting these conversations with sharing a little bit about why we created this company. And it really stemmed from a personal experience, really my mom's journey from sickness to health, and it really informed what we're doing now. And so for that, I'll let her share her story a little bit and tell you about why we created this company.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Tristan.
Yeah.
So the story of why we created Headley Holistics really chronicles my own personal journey from adversity to epiphany, I'd like to say. The adversity I experienced was having to suffer through over 40 years of autoimmune diseases that began in my early teens. And there's a myriad of reasons why these diseases developed. I won't get into that right now, but suffice it to say that I suffered for many, many, many years, and doctors could only give me Band-Aids, drugs and surgery, more drugs, more surgery, more diseases, more drugs, more surgery. By 2014, I was at the end of my rope and basically was dying, and was getting nowhere with doctors. In fact, a lot of them thought I was crazy. Even after they diagnosed all these diseases, they kept insisting it was a problem in my head and I needed to see a psychiatrist, and it just went on from there. So eventually I made a decision to just completely abandon the medical establishment at large and seek answers on my own. And it was at this point that I've discovered some natural medicines and I was finally able to heal myself. So during this process, it became obvious to me that maybe these same healing principles could be applied to some of the animals on our farm that were suffering from their own sicknesses and maladies. And so we really started diving into testing the things that cured me on our animals, dogs, cats, and horses. We had some various issues we were dealing with. It was through this process that the epiphany manifested, and I realized that nature truly holds the answers to the problems that we are facing today. And we just need to remove the interference, which is the incoming onslaught of toxins in our systems. And if we remove that interference, it's amazing how quickly the body can heal. So after over a decade of being in this space, we have found that this continues to hold true time after time after time, not just with people, but with animals as well. And so we've had so many requests to share what we've learned that we finally decided we needed to just launch this business and see if we can start helping people and animals heal from the toxins that we're being bombarded with. And that's why we started.
Yeah, your story isn't unique.
I know.
It's unique to you.
no,
but boy,
Not unique.
we see a lot of even in my world, we see a lot of holistic veterinarians that have turned to that because of their own struggles.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it's quite often the impetus for getting into it. Thankfully, I didn't have that, and so I was able to do it clean. But at the same time, yeah, you start seeing what's going on out there, and yeah, you've got to start looking after yourself.
Yeah, it was a difficult decision to make. I mean, we're trained and we're brought up to think. My mother was a registered nurse, so we were brought up to think that doctors have all the answers, and
Mm.
come to find out that they really don't, and they're still practicing. That's why they're called practicing physicians, you know. And some of them were so close-minded that they thought I was crazy when I said, I'm done. I'm getting rid of the drugs. I'm getting rid of you as a doctor. I'm just done. And I was on a pain contract for 15 years, which was lots of opioids and muscle relaxers and anti-seizure medication. And I finally, when I tore up my pain contract, my doctor was crying. And I literally said to him, are you crying because I did something you said was impossible? Or are you crying because you're not going to see my $200 a month anymore and the kickbacks from the drug companies? And he looked at me and he says, no, he says, I didn't give you a prayer. He said, I didn't think you'd ever be able to heal yourself or get off of these drugs. And he says, I'm just shocked. So that's kind of how it's been.
Yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, they're still not learning anything, but that's another topic. So we're going to talk about horses,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's right.
I guess there's a couple of things we want to get at, and that is there's a few things that you told me you want them to know.
That's right.
So let's start with got two things. Let's start with number one, I guess.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's two things, and then there's really our philosophy, which I think informs a lot of what we do. And like we were saying, it really stems from Shelley's journey. And I always like to say that being healthy in today's world is simple, but it's not always easy. And we really believe that a simple three-step process, if you can follow it, if you can adhere to it, and granted, we understand it's not always easy, but it's a simple 3 steps. And the first step is to eliminate the incoming toxins and incoming stresses on the system. And by doing that, so fundamentally, physiology and human beings and all these biologies are just complex systems of systems that are constantly striving for homeostasis and to find balance, and for humans and horses, that means be healthy. And so when we can remove the toxins and remove the stressful inputs, the next step is to safely detox the bioaccumulated toxins, right? Because unfortunately, heavy metals, agricultural toxins, all these sorts of things start to accumulate in the system and build up over time. And what will happen is those things lead to lots of downstream effects. And so our 3-step process is eliminate the incoming toxins, detoxify from those things that have been bioaccumulated. And then the last step is really to design or incorporate a specialized nutritional protocol using holistic remedies and natural medicines that will supercharge the body's natural healing process. And so that's our fundamental 3-step philosophy. And we believe, and we've experienced in ourselves, these quote unquote miraculous or impossible results in Shelley and horses and dogs and all sorts of things throughout our community and in our own lives. And so, yeah, so that's our philosophy. And there's really 2 main topics that we want to talk about today. And the first one is kind of just some generalized information to bring some awareness to, buyer beware type information. There, like fundamentally, there's a lot of popular, I want to call them, horse feeds and horse supplements. And the unfortunate reality is that a lot of these things are problematic. And they have these label claims, and they say, all you got to do is, give a scoop or give a this, and their horse will be healthy. But the reality is not only do they not deliver on the claims of being healthy, but they also carry with them a whole bunch of challenges. And I have a few examples. So the first one that we run into a lot, so we spend a lot of our time doing consults, like one-on-one phone conversations with folks when they're running into issues and don't have any answers, and they come to us. And so a lot of times people will share with us all the things that they're giving their horse, and we look at the formulations. And inside of common horse formulation supplements are ingredients like magnesium oxide and alfalfa in the same combination. And for somebody who doesn't know, that might seem like, fine, yeah, my horse needs magnesium. This is true. And alfalfa is a great food source. This is true. But the unfortunate reality is that magnesium oxide, not only is it very poorly absorbed, so most of it doesn't even get into the cell to do work. But magnesium oxide, when combined with alfalfa in any form, whether it's in that formulation or you feed a magnesium supplement and you also feed alfalfa hay, when those 2 ingredients are combined in the horse's GI tract, they dramatically increase the risk and likelihood of forming an enterolith. And so for folks that don't know, I'm sure many folks here do, but an enterolith is a mineral deposit that basically builds into this stone in the horse's GI tract. And as that stone gets bigger, it can block the GI tract. It can start to move and block portions of the GI tract. And if not caught early enough, can be deadly for a horse.
I
And
have,
so,
I have, it's actually now in my horse's shadow box, but I'm sick enough to put in my dead horse's shadow box. It was this size. She pooped it out right in front of me in the year 2000, and I washed it off. Thankfully, I just moved to Colorado, and a vet was sitting right there, and I said, "What the hell?" And she told me exactly what that was. And I had lived here, and it was a combination of the hard water, and yeah, it was all and alfalfa and all of that. So it's sitting with the tooth that took her out to kill her. But
We have an Interlith too. One of our rescue horses lost a couple years ago, and same situation. It's now a paper. I hold my paper on my desk with it.
exactly.
Scary.
I had one for years, but it was a bladder stone from a dog. Does that count?
Yeah.
Yeah, similar.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
But that's that, yeah. But like you say, it's that type of interaction that most people don't know about,
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
and it's you shouldn't give that because of that, and it's it's there's just so many interactions that are possible. And we have another speaker that talked about supplements, and that is, I think the title is "My Supplement Bin is Overflowing."
Yeah, ours was too. Years ago, before we, do what we do now, we were, feeding 8 or 9 different supplements, trying to be healthy. And
every horse had a different need. So this horse needed these 3, that horse needed those 3.
yeah, we have a different approach now that's much easier and much cheaper, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
What was the number 2 thing?
Oh yeah, so a couple other quick examples, just buyer beware. Like, horses aren't supposed to eat soy, period. It's a really low quality, low filler ingredient. And a lot of times people come to us and they're like, oh, I'm feeding this hoof supplement. And we look in the ingredients, and the first 3 ingredients are just different variations of soy. And not only is it really low calorie density and horses aren't designed to absorb it, but also and this gets to my second topic, which is soy is one of the most heavily contaminated crops here in the United States. And so it's extremely toxic and damaging, and it offers no nutritional benefits. And so any formulation that has soy in it, supplement feeds, should just be avoided for horses. And the same kind of goes for complete feeds and like all-in-one types feeds, because all these things, not only do they have synthetic vitamins and minerals, right, that are poorly absorbed and potentially toxic, but the actual food that is in the complete feeds and all-in-one feeds, again, test off the charts for agricultural chemicals and toxins. And
So
that's
maybe you could talk a little bit about what the difference between like an oxide and something that's more bioavailable in terms of what, like, your magnesium or things like that.
Yeah, totally. So magnesium oxide, basically what those words mean is the chelation of the magnesium molecule. So fundamentally, magnesium is an element. It exists in nature just as magnesium. But magnesium in the elemental form, they call it, is very poorly absorbed. Like, almost none of it gets into the GI, into the bloodstream. It does increase bowel motility, and a lot of human products for like colon cleanses and things like that will have elemental magnesium in it because it does increase bowel motility. But fundamentally, that's where the benefits stop. And we know magnesium is essential for many physiologic processes. And so you need to bind it with something else so that it can be carried through the gastrointestinal tract into the bloodstream and then into the cells to actually do work. And so using different formulations of magnesium is much more bioavailable. And I know the humans one's much better than the horse ones. What are the best ones for horses?
Bioplex magnesium is a good one, and magnesium malate is another good one for horses. I'm sure there's others, but our products are naturally high in magnesium, so that's what we're using now.
Yeah. Whole food sources is the best.
Exactly. Say a chemical one is magnesium sulfate.
Right.
And that's called a laxative.
Right.
That's right.
So it's not made to be absorbed. It's made to go right out and through, right? So
yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing that a lot of folks don't understand, is because they see on the label, oh, it's got X, Y, and Z milligrams of magnesium in it, and my horse, I know, needs magnesium, but they don't understand that it's not actually getting in to do the work. It's just creating expensive poop and
Exactly.
your nutrient.
Okay. So you're like you say, these foods like soy, and I'm sure there's a whole list of other ones exactly like that carry a certain toxin in.
Yes.
So let's do a roundup to that, okay?
I like your wordplay there, sir. Yeah, so there is one fundamental agricultural chemical that exists, especially here in the United States, that is ubiquitous. It's everywhere, it's in everything, and it's even for the most health conscious person, it's pretty hard to avoid completely. And it's called glyphosate. And so I'm sure because we're in a holistic health conference, and I'm sure a lot of people do know that word or have heard of it before, but if they don't, glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup, which is, again, an agricultural chemical they use as a herbicide and a pesticide. So that is really the crux of what we want to talk about today. I think it's something that makes us unique and different. A lot of folks that we run into personally in our experience and clients in our community, they just don't know about it. And even folks that do are like, I've heard of it, but they don't really understand the full ramifications of it and how this glyphosate toxicity specifically can manifest in so many different ways. And so that's really what we want to talk about today.
Okay. So what does it do to, I mean, the thing about it is it's invisible. You can't smell it. You can't see it. You don't know it's there. Right.
Right.
And I could be drinking water. Yeah. Somehow. There it is. Yeah. I could be drinking water and it may have it in there. And you don't know.
Right. Yeah.
You really don't know,
It's true.
The silent killer.
Yeah. And I want to share just a little bit of information. I'm actually going to let Shelley share a little bit of information about like how we came to where we are with our experience with glyphosate. And, quite frankly, one of the nation's experts on glyphosate toxicity in horses specifically, because, 10 years ago, nobody was talking about it. Like it was starting to be a human thing, but nobody had really adjusted into horses. And so I share just a brief story about how we got into this and how we got to where we are. And then after that, I'd love to share about, how to fix the problem. Because I don't want to
let's do it.
But we do have remedies to get around it. So
thank you, Tristan.
Yeah.
So during my own healing process, one of the natural medicines that I turned to was a product called Restore for Life. And it's been rebranded a few times now and is now called Ion Gut Support. And I thought this is one of the things that healed one of my diseases, which was leaky gut syndrome. And at the time, I still have him, but I have a thoroughbred off the track who was suffering greatly from ulcers, persistent skin issues, and hoof problems. And we were starting to put the pieces together that glyphosate maybe had a role in this. And I thought, I'll try this Restore on my horse and see what happens. My first attempts at supplementing him were a disaster. He had a severe reaction by day 3 from heavy metals being released from his brain. So I started freaking out because he was freaking out, and I kind of pulled back a little bit, and I decided I needed to get some more answers. So I got in contact with Zach Bush, MD, who is the founder of Biomic Sciences and the producer of Ion Gut Support. And we had a few meetings, and we started discussing what I was doing with the horses and what my concerns were, and if there was any way we could tailor at the time, Restore specifically for horses. So he decided that was a good idea. He went back to the drawing board to create an Ion Equine, which is specific for horses. And I myself went back to the drawing board because I was in this dilemma. How do I need to detox my horse, but I'm running into some issues and I need to get a handle on this. So because of my continued work in this space, I was asked to participate in a nationwide group that was tasked with coming up with explanations for why all the racehorses were beginning to break down on the track in such record numbers. So I'm from a racehorse family. My brother-in-law, Bruce Headley, was a Hall of Fame trainer down in Southern California. My husband is an ex-racehorse trainer. So I have a lot of input from the racehorse community. So we said, hey, this is a good place to start. Let's see if we can convince some of these people that maybe glyphosate might be at the root cause of why these horses are breaking down. So that was my my introduction. And this group was headed up by Stephanie Seneff, PhD. She's a senior researcher at MIT, and Anthony Samsel, who is a cellular biologist and toxicologist. They are considered to be the foremost leading experts on glyphosate in the world. So it was 2 years of very intensive learning and brainstorming, and it really informed a lot of everything that we do today. Was the 2 years I spent with this group. It was pivotal. And it was during this time that I was able to finally put the pieces together for my detox conundrum, and started combining different herbs and different things to try to get a more complete detox protocol for horses. And by the end of the project, the 2 years, when the project disbanded, I had come up with a final detox protocol for horses to detox them from heavy metals and glyphosate and other agricultural toxins. And Stephanie actually endorsed the protocol, said it was fabulous, and off we went.
That's awesome.
The knowledge and experience that I gained in these 2 years really informs what we do today, like I said, and we do spend countless hours researching and refining our protocols and counseling people on how to best help their horses thrive in today's world.
Well, another place where horses would be getting a lot of heavy metals would be vaccines.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Yeah. But the biggest part, of course, is like you say, the glyphosate is just so ubiquitous.
Yeah.
We can't, and even for example, the thing that was and this is just a parallel for you. Dog food, cheap dog food contains grain, and it's corn usually, which is way up in glyphosate, right? So people moved to the foods that were grain-free, which contain peas, lentils, beans, and
Also
potatoes.
laminated.
Yeah, it's like lentils. That was a big one. It's like, oh, we're in trouble again, you know, and so you can't get away from it. So tell us how big that problem is in the horse land.
Yeah,
Huge.
it's massive. It's huge, and unfortunately, it's unavoidable. There are things you can do to minimize the impact, but I don't believe that there's a way to completely resolve it. But just so people who maybe this is a new topic for, yeah, I'd love to share some pretty startling facts and figures for folks. And so there's some recent research that came out that they did air samples, rainwater samples, and municipal water supply samples across the country to find out, like, is there glyphosate in all of these things? 80% of the municipal water supplies had glyphosate in it. And 85% of all of the air samples and all of the rainwater samples they took contained glyphosate.
Across the country.
So in the US this year, or in 2024, I should say, we use 300 million pounds of glyphosate per year.
Yeah.
Just in this country.
And 100 million pounds of that, just like you were saying there, Jeff, 100 million pounds of that is used on corn and soy.
It's
Those
time
are
to get a giant plane and move all of our horses to Europe.
It's true, and exactly right, Joe. So there's around the world, there are 28 other countries who have completely outright banned the use of glyphosate or any glyphosate-containing product in their food, and there's another 15 countries that have dramatically reduced their threshold, what they would allow into their country, and our thresholds are so much higher than any other country. It's quite astonishing. There is some good news.
Oh, and we get to ramp it up even more. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but there is some good news. There is starting to be a trend. Certainly, I would say folks in the human space are more aware of it. Folks like when we talk about animal health, I think it's still a topic that doesn't get enough traction. But there is some traction starting to gain in the human world. And there's last I heard, there was like approximately 150 cities throughout the nation that are taking actions to restrict the use or flat out ban the use of glyphosate in the city. And so there is some hope, but these are half measures, right? Because if you go to like the green belt of the United States, where mass scale agricultural projects are, it's the health impacts are astonishing.
Yeah. So like you say, we've got this health impact on our horses.
Yeah.
What is it doing?
Great question.
Can we see it?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me start with some high level information so you can understand the manifestations, right? And so what does glyphosate do to a system? And so fundamentally, glyphosate is an antibiotic. And so that might sound like a good thing, right? Because the doctor prescribes them and
Yeah.
we need them. That's right, Jeff. They're not good. And so what it does when they spray it onto the soil is it kills all of the bacteria, the fungi, and all of the mycelium complex that exist in the soil. And as it turns out, those are the critical elements necessary for the plant to build its own immune system, for it to draw minerals and nutrients up from the soil. And so it fundamentally is an antibiotic, and it sterilizes the soil. And the next thing that glyphosate does is it chelates vitamins and minerals. And so what that means is that any vitamins and minerals that do exist in the soil, it binds to them and traps them down deep into the soil. And there was actually recent research that came out that showed that the average produce, vegetables, fruit that exist in our supermarket today have 5 to 40% less minerals in it than those same vegetables did 50 years ago. And so the food that we're consuming, and now that was like, supermarket human stuff, but the same is true for our horses' food, right? The foodstuffs that our horses eat are similarly devout of the nutrients that they're supposed to have, right? And so not only are the foods that we're feeding our horses missing the key minerals, the key nutrients they need to be healthy, but now they're also carrying in this dangerous toxin that causes a whole bunch of extra effects. So glyphosate is also, they call it an efficient catalyst. And basically what that means is it will bind onto other chemicals and toxins and carry them deep into the system and deposit them where they shouldn't be. And so chemical farmers love this factor, right? Because now they can use glyphosate and some other herbicide or pesticide, and those other chemicals are more effective because glyphosate is on board. Unfortunately, what that means for horses and humans when we eat this stuff is that any other chemicals or toxins that are present in the system now get carried deeper into the system and have more effects throughout the entire biological system. And so it's quite damaging stuff. And I have one other little fact to it I love to share with folks, just because it's something that when I learned, I was shocked, and that is the notion of GMO versus non-GMO. And so I think a common consumer assumption or impression, I'll take it because they have a big marketing budget. They love us to think this, but just because a product is non-GMO doesn't mean it's actually healthy for us. And so, GMO started back in the mid-1990s when glyphosate was killing all the crops. They had to integrate the glyphosate molecule into the DNA of the plant so it could withstand the copious amounts of the chemical they were pouring on. So that's true. Non-GMO plants, unfortunately, what often happens with crops, especially like wheat, oats, and barley, things that need to be dried before they're harvested, the non-GMO versions of these crops, they spray glyphosate on within 2 to 3 days of harvest, because glyphosate kills the plant very, very quickly and dries it out, which makes their harvest easier and better. And so now what we have is we have these non-GMO products, and they're being shipped right into our foodstuffs or right into our horses' foodstuffs, and they literally had this toxic chemical sprayed on them just a few days ago. Yeah. And so it's one of the things that, again, just like we were talking about with magnesium oxide and all these other things, it's like, you got to know it. If you don't know, you don't know. But it's unfortunate that we can't trust the labels that we see.
Yeah, no, well, the labeling quite often comes under the idea that unless they add it during processing, they don't need to label it.
Right. I remember even in the year 2000, I was married, and my husband would be so excited that he bought something natural. I'm like, David, it's got to say organic.
That's right.
Right? Natural was, anyway.
Even organic sometimes.
Yeah.
There was the Institute for Responsible Technology that's headed up by Jeffrey Smith. He's another one that I've worked with. They put out a list of foods and their glyphosate content, and there was a brand of organic chickpeas. And by the way, don't ever eat hummus, because every single brand tests off the charts for glyphosate. But organic chickpeas, it was Harris Teeter was the brand, and they had 15,000 parts per million glyphosate in an organic product.
I have too many great Middle Eastern restaurants around here to ever buy some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to be super careful. If
Yeah.
even organic products are that contaminated, I mean, what hope do we have, right?
Right.
It's really frightening.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, and we think we're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So, So what do we see in the course? What
Great. Yeah, sorry, I got on a little bit of tangent. We get very excited. We're kind of nerdy when it comes to this stuff. So
Don't worry. That's what
right
I'm.
into this back
No,
end.
I love
This is what I'm here for.
Yeah,
me
I love it.
too.
Yeah, and so what does it mean for our horses? So it manifests in a number of different ways, and I'm gonna start by talking about like the physiologic impact, and for non-science oriented people that might be a little confusing. But then I'm gonna talk about the actual like how it manifests in horses. What are the signs and symptoms that we see every day? And so the first thing that glyphosate does when it's introduced into a biological system is it's going to destroy the tight junctions inside of the body. And so tight junctions are these single cell layers that exist on all barriers inside of the body. And so probably the most famous barrier, I'm going to call it, is the GI tract, right? Our intestines. And there's also, blood-brain barrier is another one. Our skin is a barrier. And so all these barriers have these tight junctions, and their primary role is to act as gatekeepers. They keep things out that shouldn't come in, and then they allow nutrients and good things to come in. So what happens when glyphosate is introduced into the system is it breaks apart those tight junctions and creates this free-floating highway where any toxin or chemical can come right into the system. And in humans, they've coined this term as leaky gut syndrome, right? And horses experience the same thing, right? A destruction of the integrity of their gut lining. And so the next thing that glyphosate is going to do is it is a endocrine dysregulating factor.
Right.
That's a fancy word of saying hormone imbalances, right? And so our hormone system in horses is incredibly complex. It's very nuanced. It's all about balancing and things going at the right time. And it's literally connected to almost every physiologic function in our body. And so what glyphosate does is it starts to deregulate that and messes up that whole cascade of events that should be happening in the right order at the right time and in the right amounts. Glyphosate is also a very powerful protein synthesis disruptor. And so what that means is the body needs to form proteins to build structures in the system. And so when the body can't build the right proteins, structures start to break down. And so protein synthesis is an essential function. And one of the things glyphosate does really well is it breaks up that. And it largely has to do with glyphosate being a glycine mimicking molecule. And so it'll literally insert itself, the glyphosate molecule, into glycine, think like hooves or tendons or ligaments. They're all very high in glycine. But now you have glyphosate inserted where glycine should be. And so those structures break down because it's not a protein. And the last thing it does, and this goes back to the efficient catalyst notion I was speaking about earlier, but it's a master toxin. And so like we were saying earlier, it amplifies the effects of other toxins and chemicals that are present in the system. And so, okay, science hat off. That was a lot of big words. What does that really mean for our horse? What do we see every day?
I know, what I was going to ask is that why some of the tendons drop, or?
Yeah.
And why the racehorses were blowing their tendons and their ligaments and having heart attacks and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's a number of things that glyphosate does, and those are just some of the highlights. And there's a number of things that it will manifest in a horse, right? The signs and symptoms we see. But I'd like to cover just a few of the most common ones we see, and I think will resonate with a lot of the viewers here. And so, number one is a metabolic dysfunction, right? And so that goes back to the endocrine disruption. That goes back to destroying the gut health, and metabolic dysfunction. 50 years ago when my mom was growing up, right, like it was unheard of. All you had to do was give them grass and hay and some salt and water, and the horses were fine. And the reality is today that's not true. And metabolic dysfunction, whether it's Cushing's disease, whether it's equine metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance, is a real problem for horses. Like I saw a recent study came out that said 40% of the equine population is at risk of developing a metabolic disorder,
if they don't already have one. Yeah.
Which is astronomical, right? And I mean, a lot of these things could be applied to humans as well, right?
Like diabetes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What were you saying, Joan?
I said that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So metabolic dysfunction is the first common sign and symptom we're going to see, and we believe is directly linked to glyphosate toxicity. The next thing we're going to see is chronic hoof issues. And again, this comes back to the endocrine dysregulation, right? The body doesn't have the right hormones in place to build the things it needs. It comes back to that protein synthesis disruption, right? Because the body can't build the right proteins in the right order. And so we start to get a lot of compromising of the quality of the hoof. And the other thing we see is a lot of immune dysfunction. And so this is going to be like in people, it's like late onset food sensitivities, people that weren't allergic early on, but then they're allergic to some sort of food later on. Or like for horses, it's going to be like, allergies, welts, fly bite sensitivity, all these types of things, especially if they're onset later in life and they weren't born with this kind of thing. That means over time, their immune system has degraded enough where these stresses on the system start to overwhelm and they start to have these overt symptoms. And the last thing we see a lot, again, 50 years ago wasn't a thing. We see a lot of horses with reproductive issues, right? And again, this is directly related to that and mainly the endocrine dysregulation, right?
Yeah. No, the thing is, like I say, there's a lot of different symptoms that we're seeing. One of the terms veterinarians use is ADR. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Ain't doing right.
Ain't doing right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And but at the same time, those things are hard to diagnose too,
They are.
or expensive to
I'm
diagnose.
sure, I mean, who thinks of it?
That's right.
I remember years ago, there was a reaction, a lot of horses had a reaction to the rhino vaccine, but vets didn't believe, and all the symptoms were the same: chronic, unaccountable lameness. Like go down the list.
Yeah.
And there was no other reason. And then it came down to, herpes as a result of over vaccination.
Yeah.
And they usually had the little dots under their lip, and no vet believed me. And I was like, all right, you do you. But this horse has this thing. It'd be really simple to clean up.
Yeah.
Probably with your products.
Yeah, and that's the good news is there is, like I said, it's unfortunate we can't totally eliminate, but there are ways that you can mitigate the damage and things that you can do to help, basically eliminate that stress on the system as much as possible. And we found in our experience that, horses can thrive. Horses can thrive in today's world. And it's obviously best if you start, keep getting them healthy, keeping them healthy. Let me say this differently. Keeping a horse healthy is a lot easier than getting them healthy once they're sick. And so we're always a proponent of like start early, like take care of the horse now before it has an issue. But even horses that are currently experiencing issues, we've experienced miraculous transformations time and time again. And we do have protocols for that.
But one thing that I've done with myself, my dogs, my cats, and my horses is that different types of cleansing are built into the year. Like that should be a protocol for, I shouldn't say should, but anyway, it's an
unfortunate necessity.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have a similar rhythm.
Yeah, and it just becomes a rhythm.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got this problem going on in our horses. We assume it's due to glyphosate, and I'll call it bad feeds, things like that.
That's fair.
And how do we fix it?
Great question. So it comes back to our 3-step philosophy, right? So eliminating the incoming toxins, detoxify, and then design a personalized nutritional program that addresses the needs of that horse. And so for horses, step 1, eliminating the incoming stresses, that means transitioning to a forage-based diet. We're big proponents of it, and we believe that eliminating commercial feeds, eliminating commercial supplements and vitamin mineral things that are all synthetically made, those are the biggest triggers, and those are the biggest controllable factors, I'll say. We can't control the rainfall. We can't control our water supply for most folks. And so the reality is the things that we can control is the food that we're feeding our horses. So forage-based diet is number 1. And then the next step is to detoxify. And there's really 2 strategies that we use depending on severity. And so like Shelley was sharing earlier, we have our herbal-based detoxification protocol that we developed when she was working on that project. And also some of our nutritional, part of our nutritional program, a lot of these organic superfoods we use have natural detoxification factors. And so they will naturally detoxify along the way. And so for horses that aren't really severely detox, or even horses that are severely detoxed, we maybe say, okay, start with the gentle detox first. And then once you get a little bit of a handle on it, then go for the big detox protocol. And so I'd love to share briefly a little bit about our protocol. If that's the detox protocol, that's great.
Yeah, let's go over one.
Okay, so the detoxification protocol that we've developed is unique in that it addresses the problem on 4 levels, which in our experience and all the people that we've worked with, a lot of these other detoxification protocols that people get from like their vets or these other health gurus, they don't actually address the problem on 4 issues or in 4 layers. And so it ends up causing more damage, or it doesn't actually provide the results. So step 1, which I believe is unique to our protocol, is to heal the gut lining. And so we have a protocol, right? So the Ion Equine heals that gut lining. So that's step 1, is to strengthen those barriers so that as much as you can repel the toxins and chemicals that get introduced to the system. So that's unique to our protocol. The next step is to include ingredients that stimulate the release of heavy metals and chemicals that are bound inside of the system. Now, this is what most detoxification protocols that we know of from other folks, this is the step that they do. They put in like specialized chelated vitamins and minerals, and they say it's personalized for your horse, and you spend hundreds of dollars on these protocols. But the reality is what that does is once you release those toxins and those chemicals from the system, step 3 is you have to chelate them. You have to bind them once they're into the bloodstream so that they are safely excreted. And so what was happening with Radar, our OTDB, is when we first gave him that ion gut support, he had a massive release of aluminum from his brain, and it was being redeposited in other parts of his body because we weren't binding it. And so that 3rd step is critical, and a lot of protocols miss that. And the 4th phase of our protocol it's kind of all included, but the 4th thing that our protocol does is it remineralizes along the way. And so that's an essential element, because a lot of times the ingredients that other protocols will include in their detox that stimulate the release of heavy metals and toxins also stimulate the release of the healthy minerals and vitamins that the body needs to be healthy. And so what you have to do is you have to remineralize along the way to make up for all of the damage that was just done so that the body can heal itself, right? And so we believe that that 4th step is essential. And our experience with our horses, like Joan was saying, we have a similar rhythm. We detox our horses once a year. Even though we feed them all these organic superfoods and all these healthy things, we still do it once a year.
Yeah.
And we really believe that's an essential way. And it's not to say that we have the only detox protocol that works. I will say that we have yet to find somebody else with a detox protocol that is as effective and comprehensive as ours. And we have countless number of clients that have come to us who have used other protocols for months or even years and not seen any results. And then they come to us, and within a couple months, their horse is better. So we're confident, we know ours works. And I will admit that there might be others out there that are good. I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, I mean, I know that even heavy metal detoxes with what is that mineral that's from the volcanic ash and
Selenium,
no,
Humic acid?
what's that?
fulvic acid.
No, it's volcanic ash and it's, oh my God, I can't even think of it. But anyway, that you could detox, but you still needed to be putting in massive, magnesium, calcium, all the things, because a lot of things still chelate out.
Right.
All the minerals when you're pulling out the heavy metals.
And that's why standard veterinary protocols for detoxing are so dangerous, and the horses have to be monitored because it will pull out everything. It's specific to just the heavy metals, and ours is
Zeolite.
zeolites.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But a lot of the protocols that are used only address 1 or 2 of those steps.
Right.
Right. In people land, for example, one of the big ones is the EDTA injected intravenously. Okay. And then the hope is that it pulls the heavy metals, and then you peel them. Right. So that's the plan. But that's only addressing 1 part.
Right.
That's
But
right.
it also usually takes out the magnesium and calcium with it.
Yeah.
And if you're not healing the gut, then it's all for naught, because you still have this leaky gut that's just letting everything in. And so you got to really do all 4 steps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and some other ones are just looking at the organ damage and detoxing the liver or something,
Yeah.
right? So,
Well,
yeah,
I'll be signing
so,
up for
so
work.
definitely that's
Yeah,
that's where we run into the problems, isn't it?
yeah, totally.
Okay, so what else do we need to know about this stuff?
Yeah, so that was our detox, right? So if we're working through that 3-step philosophy of ours, right? So we're eliminating the toxins coming in, forward-based diet, we're detoxing. And then the last step is to design a personalized nutritional protocol for horses, depending on what that horse needs. And really what makes us unique in our company and our offerings and our product brand, Evolve Remedies, is our own products. We have these unique and novel organic superfoods for horses. And so we are the exclusive distributor for the highest quality, highest purity and potency seed cakes in the world. And I know that because our distributor has patented pressing technology that creates the highest quality oils and byproduct, the seed cake. And so if folks don't know, seed cakes are essentially, so when something like a black cumin seed or a flax seed or a milk thistle seed is pressed for its oil, the oil is extracted off and used for human consumption, and the seed cake is the byproduct, what's left over. As it turns out, when through our distributor, his seed cakes are still intact. He never grinds or heats up the seeds, and the resulting seed cakes are extremely nutritious and contain within them, excuse me, tons of vitamins, minerals. They still have some of the healthy fats in it, and they also have the phytonutrients and the fibers. And so, as it turns out, these seed cakes are extremely powerful and useful nutritional supplements for horses and dogs. And so that really is something that's unique for us. Like, we were the first people in North America to start offering black cumin seed press cake for horses. And it's quite remarkable the power that these things have. We were skeptical at first when we first tried it. And when we started seeing the results we did, we were blown away. And so then we went to our community, like, hey, you try this, see if it helps your horse. And then they tried it and they saw the same results, and we're like, I think we're onto something. And so that's really what makes us unique, is the quality of our seed cakes, the quality of our superfoods, and the fact that we have them.
Do they have a lot of omega-3s?
They have some omega-3s, especially our flaxseed press cake does have some omega-3s in it.
And the cumin.
And the cumin does have. And the reality is that because it's in a whole food complex, as opposed to an extracted piece or a part, right? The body absorbs and utilizes it at a much higher efficiency. And so a lot less does a lot more. Right. And that's one of the things that makes superfood so powerful, is because it's still a whole food. It's real. It's not a powder. It's not a pellet. It's not an oil that's been extracted, and who knows the quality or state of it by the time it reaches the barn. So that's what makes it unique.
What's the best time of year to do the cleansing?
So we generally detox our horse once a year in the summer, early summertime.
Right before fall, before all the ACTH starts being dumped, into the system, and we just choose to do it between July and August every year.
That's the best time in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah,
it is
for sure.
It is. It's why we suffer through the winter months like this. Yeah, and so those seed cakes are what make us unique and quite remarkable nutritional products. And so we have a few different protocols that we've designed based on signs and symptoms horses are experiencing. And so the number one thing, so horses with metabolic issues, so this could be Cushing's, insulin resistance, equine metabolic syndrome, could just be like a chubby fat horse who shouldn't be that fat and maybe haven't got it diagnosed yet. Doesn't really matter. And so that protocol is our organic black cumin seed press cake, our flax press cake, our milk thistle press cake, Saigon cinnamon, Acadian kelp meal, and copper. And then for horses who have immune system dysfunction or immune issues, it's going to be our black cumin seed press cake, our milk thistle seed press cake, Acadian kelp meal, rose hips, which is ours is organic, minimally processed, really great source of vitamin C and other polyphenols for immune boosting properties, and then copper as well. Horses who have chronic hoof issues, This is a big one for folks. Our protocol is black cumin seed press cake, flaxseed press cake, milk thistle, Acadian kelp meal, Nutrisil, which is a bioavailable form of silica, which is an essential nutrient for healthy hoof growth, and then as well as copper.
Okay.
And then the last protocol that we have, and we have all these protocols bundled together on our website for folks to make it easy. The last protocol that we have is what we call a general wellness or longevity bundle. And so this is for folks whose horse maybe is younger or doesn't have any overt symptoms, signs or symptoms, or for folks who really want to transition away from the commercial vitamin mineral supplements. And folks who just want their horse to live a long, healthy, happy life. And that one is our black cumin seed press cake, our flaxseed press cake, Acadian kelp meal, and copper. And so if you're paying attention, you'll notice that a lot of our protocols are very, very similar, right? And we do that because we do what we believe in is something that I refer to as cost-effective, holistic approach. Basically, how can we create the best health outcomes with the fewest amount of dollars spent and the fewest amount of products, right? So before we introduced these superfoods into our horse's routine, we were given 8 or 9 different supplements to each horse, and it was costing like $8 or $9 a day. And some of our protocols, like our general wellness and longevity bundle, it works out to be about $1 a day for all of that stuff. And the potential healing benefits of that stuff are massive, right?
Yeah.
And that's really why we love the superfoods.
Yeah. No, the thing about that is that you've got it honed down to a group of 5 or 6, right?
Right.
And like you say, there's similarities between all of them with the cumin seed, the kelp, the flaxseed, sort of that grouping. But that's the same thing with me, and that is, okay, if I want to be healthier, what assuming I want to go supplement route. That's another topic. But the point is, you're going to take vitamin C, you're going to take vitamin D, you're going to take, whatever, right? It's sort of a similar idea, but this is for whole body, isn't it?
That's right. It really is. Yeah. And so what we love about it is that whole foods and organic superfoods, they deliver the nutrients in a way that the body is designed to absorb. And that's the key, right? We and horses have evolved over millennia directly interacting with our environment to derive the nutrients and the health benefits we need. And so when you deliver nutrition in a whole food or in a superfood, the body is perfectly adapted to utilize every ounce of it. And so nothing is wasted. And like we were mentioning earlier, right? Like synthetic vitamin and mineral supplements is going to be all the pellets and powders and all that stuff.
Right.
It's not absorbed. And so you're essentially just paying for expensive urine and manure.
Right.
Yeah. And another reason we really love the superfoods is a class of chemicals known as phytonutrients. And I'm sure you guys know what these are, but for folks who don't know, phytonutrients are really these plant chemicals that high quality whole foods and superfoods create. And really they quite literally supercharge the body's healing processes. And the impact these phytonutrients can have on a biological system are far ranging. And one way I like to describe it for folks who maybe aren't totally sold on the topic yet is understanding that pharmaceutical companies study phytonutrients because of their natural healing abilities, right? So pharmaceutical companies will go out into nature and they go, oh, this bioactive compound here elicits a health benefit when used by this organism. So then what they have to do is they have to take that naturally occurring chemical, they have to change the molecular structure somehow so that's unique and doesn't exist in nature so they can patent it and then sell it as a drug. And so we just go right to the source. Nature has the answers, right? If you get high quality superfoods like this, it contains these miraculous healing molecules that literally supercharge the health and healing process of the body. And like you noticed in our protocols, there's so much crossover because a simple food like black cumin is going to help the liver. It's going to help the respiratory. It's going to help the skin. It's going to help the coat. It's going to help the hooves. It's an exhaustive list of how many things it touches. And that's why our protocols are similar in so many ways, because one superfood does so many things throughout the body. And so we really like to think of it as you know, uh, high quality stuff not only fixes the problems you're having now, but it prevents potential issues in the future. So it's like health insurance for your horse, right? A couple scoops a day will keep the vet away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a really nice approach to that. And so
Yeah.
that's great, guys. There's rather than saying we need a specific nutrient, you've got sort of an umbrella effect, as in, you're going to get this package of nutrients in this one, and we're going to put several of those together to just promote the body to be healthier.
Yeah. No, I love it.
Is what you're trying to do there, right?
I will definitely be
It's kind of like
ordering.
me taking a multivitamin, as in, yeah, that covers everything, right?
Yeah.
But the same problem is that multivitamin may have toxicities of some of those components.
Yeah, that's right. And most of that isn't actually absorbed, right?
And most of it isn't needed either.
That's right.
Right.
Very true. Yeah.
But it's on the label, so it's got to be good, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
what people think.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So your mission is, and I can see the passion that you have. Your mission started with, hey, I've got to heal myself. This is how we're going to do it. And by the way, it works on horses. Let's investigate that. And like you say, you're focused on going to I call the paramount toxin is a very, very good approach. So with that in mind, I know the viewers, if anyone that wants to talk to you or do something, you've got something for them as well, don't you?
We do. Yeah. Thanks for that, Jeff. Yeah. So like you're saying, we really believe that our mission is to be a resource and a source of education and information for folks who are seeking answers. We spend a lot of our time doing consultations with folks, one-on-one, like phone conversations, to help understand, okay, what's your current situation? What's going on? What are you feeding? What are you using? And then help them to understand our philosophy and why we do what we do. And then we help design a specialized program for their horse that, like, okay, these are the things that we believe you need to achieve that optimal state of health and wellness that you're seeking from your horse. And, we spend a lot of our time doing that. Quite frankly, like, we love doing it. And, yeah. And so if that's something that folks, viewers of this conference are interested in, there's going to be a link below, I believe, where they can visit our website and sign up. We'll be offering free consultations for the first 20 or so folks that reach out to us. So we'll be offering those free consultations and help people to kind of unlock health and healing for their horse and themselves if they're interested. We have a whole
And their
bunch,
dogs.
and their dogs. We have a whole bunch of stuff. I know it's a horse conference, but yeah, what's that?
And cats.
We have a couple things for cats, not as much though. And
Cats can't have black cumin seed,
Yeah.
by the way. They
Yeah.
can't digest bitter substances, but dogs can, and horses, obviously, and people.
Okay.
Don't hurt your cats.
Okay. So anyway, if everyone was just listening to all that, if you want some help designing a program for your horse, these are the guys to call.
we're here.
And you're willing to donate your time, which is just great.
Amazing.
And for folks who don't really necessarily want or need to talk to us, we also have a special discount for conference attendees. It's an additional discount above and beyond what our bundle packages are already discounted at. But yeah, we love to talk to folks and really help them understand how to navigate this world.
Sounds great. Yeah, there's well, that's the thing. There's so much. When you go to the feed store and you say, my horse has got this, they'll say, oh, here's the bottle for you. Right. And there was one of our speakers was saying that one horse was on like 30 supplements.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's like, no, that's called over supplementation, guys. That's as bad as too many vaccines. So you got to watch out what you're doing here.
Totally.
Yeah. But anyway, but thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah,
Any further questions, Joan?
No, this was really great.
Yeah, I like the focus on this, and we've delved into. I've been waiting for a presenter to talk about glyphosate and sort of expose it a little bit, and you did that very nicely.
Yes.
That is going to be a growing thing over the next couple of decades.
Yeah.
Because it's not, even if we stopped all the spraying today, we're surrounded by it.
It just a little factoid from Zach Bush. If we were to stop spreading glyphosate today, it would take 50 years for all the beneficial microbes and bacteria and mycelium in the soil to return that can digest the glyphosate.
Yeah.
And
well, that's the thing. Like your initial word was glyphosate is an antibiotic. And therefore it disrupts the microbiome, it screws up the gut, you end up with leaky gut. And guess what the biggest problem we have with dogs now?
Yeah, gut dysfunction.
Allergies related to leaky gut.
right, exactly.
Okay, so yeah, it's ubiquitous. So thank you for coming on board and sharing your expertise, guys.
Yeah.
For all you viewers, click the link and you can get in there and talk to these guys, and they can help you with some of your challenges with your horses. And also there's discounts on some of their products too, so you can take advantage of them in two ways. But thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you.
And get working. Check out the other speakers. And as we say, we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.